Alright, hi there beavers. I'm going to walk you through a modeling activity for cellular respiration because you probably don't have one of these modeling kits at home. And I brought two back from the classroom, used up all these oxygens and carbons, and then realized I still needed more oxygen. So that's why these look funny. These are carbon atoms from the kit that I've put some red washi tape on. So use your imagination with me. Pretend they are red oxygen atoms and these are oxygen molecules because we're breathing as we're doing cellular respiration and we breathe a lot. Okay, this is a glucose molecule. Glucose is 6 carbons, 6 oxygens, the red ones, and 12 hydrogens. So the formula for glucose, is C6H12O6 for glucose here. And what this glucose is missing is its high energy bond indicators. This is a hydrocarbon, it's a sugar, which is a form of carbohydrate, so it's got a lot of stored energy in it. And I'm going to use these gold twist ties to represent which of these bonds are high energy bonds, and we're going to count these as like energy units, okay? So for high energy bonds, we're looking for the carbons to the carbons, so not this one, because that's carbon to oxygen, but this one here. So I got 1, I got 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, that's 5 for carbons to carbons, and now carbons to hydrogens, there's even more. So I'm at 5. I'm going to go from black to white. So now I'm at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, this one actually gets another one here, 12, okay? So we have 12 high energy bonds stored in this glucose molecule. Glucose comes from carbohydrates. It's the monomer, the building block of all carbs. And since it's got these high energy bonds, this is maybe, you know, from the bread that you ate or a candy bar that you're eating. This is stored chemical energy. I'm writing this down. Okay, so right now we've got energy stored in the bonds of our food, so in stored chemical energy in the glucose. The oxygen that we're breathing does not actually have stored chemical energy. Yes, there's energy in these bonds that's holding the oxygen atoms to each other, but this is not an energy that we're going to use for fuel. If all you had to do was breathe to eat, that would be really handy, but that's not the case. So I have one glucose molecule of C6H12O6, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 oxygen molecules. So you're starting off, upside down, with 6 oxygen molecules. There's 12 oxygen atoms here, but there's also 6 oxygen atoms here in the glucose, okay? So there's a lot of oxygen going on. I wish I would have brought more, but we'll use our imagination, okay? So in cellular respiration, these are our reactants. It's very much a combustion reaction because you've got a energy source here, right? This is a fuel, a food that's got high energy bonds, and we've got oxygen. We're going to react it and move to the other side, and we should be ending up with carbon dioxides and water, and these twist ties are going to get released. Close that door. Okay, so bear with me while I take it all apart. I'll try to do this strategically, though. So I'll form some waters as I go and some carbon dioxides as I go. But as I break these bonds, it's like the high energy that is stored in them gets kind of like released, and I'm able to put it back together with less energy, but I will need to, I have some of that energy left over. So you can fast forward the video because it's going to take me a while. Okay, so this one's a carbon dioxide, 1 carbon, 2 oxygens, and this is a water, H2O. And I'm just going to keep going. Notice I'm using atoms from both the oxygen gas and the glucose, and they're all getting mixed up and rearranged amongst these carbon dioxides and water. It's not like only the oxygens from the glucose end up in the water. They're going to be in multiple places. Oh, no, not that one. Okay, I'm using up all of my hydrogens in my water, so every single hydrogen that came from the glucose is only ending up in water. That's an obvious one. There's no carbons in the air. The carbons are coming from the glucose, and they're all ending up here in carbon dioxides. But the oxygens are present in both the oxygen and the glucose at the start, and they're going to be present in both the carbon dioxide and water at the end. I'm now wishing I brought a third molecule kit back, because I could have had this built from the beginning. So thanks for your patience as I rebuild this combustion reaction of cellular respiration. Alright, I will not be going backwards, so I hope you had the carbon stuff at the beginning. So I'm going to do that. We had carbon in the glucose, hydrogen in the glucose. They are ending up in either or, the water or the carbon dioxide, and the oxygens are in both the glucose and the oxygen. They're ending up in both the carbon dioxide and the hydrogen. So there will be an assignment at the end of tracing where all of these types of atoms end up. Okay, so we started off with chemical energy stored in the glucose, and we are combining that with 6 oxygen molecules. And remember, an oxygen molecule is an O2. That's different than just an oxygen atom as a single. And what I'm left here in the end, I still have all the same atoms. I can't destroy the matter, but I can obviously rearrange it. You watched me do that for a few minutes. So now in the end, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 carbon dioxide, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 water molecules. And the carbon dioxide and the water molecules, these are low energy bonds. This is a carbon to an oxygen, which is considered lesser amount of energy than we had back carbon to carbon, carbon to hydrogen. And this is oxygens to hydrogens, also a lower amount of energy. Water is not a fuel source, it doesn't burn. Carbon dioxide gas, also not a fuel source, doesn't burn. So these are inorganic compounds that I'm going to just move them kind of together here. So we've kind of dropped the amount of stored chemical energy. It doesn't disappear. We still have these twist ties. We still have all 12 of them. Let's make sure I didn't lose any. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Yes, I still have all 12, but now that's no longer stored chemical energy because it's not stored in the bonds of molecules. This could now be heat energy and keep that animal warm. Right, these look like stink lines, or kinetic energy. So this energy now that we've basically made it available to the animal. When an animal eats glucose and breaks it down like this in cellular respiration, one example of a combustion reaction, we can generate heat to keep the animal warm and alive, or that energy can be put to kinetic use, right? Making motions within the cells, making movements of the muscles and things like that. So this could be kinetic at really small cellular levels. It could also be kinetic larger if you're powering, a whole muscular tissue system of the animal. So none of the energy got destroyed. It did transform. Before we had chemical, now we can have these choices. All the matter is accounted for. So on your modeling data table, you should have the same numbers from beginning to end. I'm not going to rebuild back to the beginning, but this is a model of cellular respiration in animals. So I got the glucose from my food. I'm breathing the oxygen from the air. These two are now both gases and they're going to get breathed out. I know the water you may not think of as a gas, but if you cup your hands over your mouth and breathe out, like you'll notice that moisture on your hands. Like you are actually getting rid of water as water vapor, and this is now mass that the animal's losing, right? So we brought in mass as part of food. This is now mass that is leaving the animal in the form of gases. The energy is going to stay in the animal unless it's, being released by heat to the atmosphere or ends up getting converted to that animal moving around. So, hope this helps, and use this to answer your questions for the molecular models for cellular respiration. Bye-bye, guys. Till next time.